Pretty much, I just want to timeline everything as far as your career from pretty much where you were born and raised to today, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in LA. I lived in El Salvador when I was a kid, but then with the war and all, I came back and but mainly raised in LA and lived there my whole life till I came here to San Antonio, Texas.
And what part of LA were you born in?
I was right there in South LA, right there by not far from where Chicanito was born and grew up.
What was your childhood like? I mean, growing up, were you close to your family? Were you kind of distant with your family? How were you like growing up?
Yeah, it was always family. We'd always go with the uncles and the aunts and the cousins. You know, always being busy, going to the parks, getting in fights, doing the neighborhood thing when I was little. And then we moved from like the LA, because then my every weekend, because I grew up when I was a kid over there by USC. So then we went to Bellflower, but that was like later on. But before that, every weekend, we'd go to it's Alvarado. Do you know where MacArthur Park is?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right there. That's like El Salvador in LA, and so we'd always hang out there every weekend. Go to the parks, at Lafayette Park, MacArthur Park, and play with the cousins and just have a good time. It was a good, peaceful time, But I was always fighting. I guess I was fighting for my identity in a way. Everybody would be calling me Mexican or pineapple or something, thinking I was something else. I said, no, I'm Salvadorian, and that fighting but that was more when I was like in Bellflower, because it was at that time it was more of like a white neighborhood, and so once we started coming, I guess we the Hispanics started coming in, and we just took over.
Did a lot of those fights have to do with race and with where you're from and what country you're from, or gangs?
No, it was at that time. In my time, it was more about race. And then when it got older, it was more about, where you from, what gang you from. And so I remember growing up in Bellflower, but I was close to like Paramount and a lot of the gangsters there. I was cool with those guys, the guys from Long Beach. But it was always like the Hispanics versus the blacks around that time. So it was like when I saw the movie Crash. I don't know if you see that movie. I felt it a lot like that. My life and what was surrounding my life. That's why I made the decision to come over to San Antonio and take my kids away from that kind of environment.
Wow, Crash, that's an old school movie right there. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt. When I saw it, it really made an impact. I was like, damn. When you're on the freeway or something, you have some people just saying, "Hey, you Mexican," or "You motherfucking Mexican." I'm like, damn, dude, relax. I don't want my son to ever hear that. And I think we picked the right spot. It's very peaceful here, and I'm okay with it.
And as a kid growing up, you said you got in a lot of fights. But as far as like when you were, let's say, sitting in a classroom or at home, were you quiet? Were you shy? Were you outgoing? How were you like as a kid growing up?
I was more of an outgoing kid. I wanted to be the center of attention. If there was another kid and he wanted to do something, he was doing something. I remember like breakdance. When breakdancing came in, I remember there was a kid who was like, he's a breakdancer, and he was doing it all good and everything and getting all the attention. And I was like, man, I could do it better than you. And I didn't even know how to break dance at all. I was just basically.
So in other words, you were very competitive then. Since then.
Yeah, totally competitive. I just wanted to be the best at whatever it was, even though I wasn't skilled. I was a bit overweight. Had a complex problem, I guess you could say. I didn't like the way I looked. I felt I was overweight. I wanted the nice looking girl. I wanted to be that one kid that all the like the football stars, at the high school.
Yeah, the guy that gets all the attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And how were you as a student growing up? Were you a good student in school? Did you slack off?
Yeah, I slacked off, man. That's why I praise my children, because they're really good in school.
How did you get interested in boxing?
Well, my dad got me into. He wanted me to get off the streets because he saw that when we moved and we moved to a nice area, but then it started. The schools were not as good anymore. They were starting to get like gang infested with the blacks and the Mexican gangs. So my dad saw that I was always fighting, and he wanted me to stay out of the streets. He said, "You know what? Let's just." He put me in karate first. First, he put me in every sport. He wanted me to be a busy kid, which my dad he had two jobs, man, or I'm sorry, three jobs. So it was very freaking tough for my dad. It was tough. He sacrificed a lot, and I see that now. But I was like, damn, where the hell are you? You're never home, and you're always upset. But I understand that he was upset because he was tired, and he just wanted to come home and go to sleep. But my dad worked graveyard shift. Then he'd get a few hours sleep, and then work in like the afternoon. Then come home, go back to sleep for a little bit, and then go to a part time for like an hour or two. I think it was like a 2 hour job, and then he'll play a little bit of soccer, and then go to work or take to the activities that I need to go. Which is the first, but before that, he took me to soccer, but I sucked in soccer. But then he took me to and karate is where I felt like I blossomed, I guess you could say, because I became national champion in karate, state champion, and then from there I made the transition to boxing. When I went to the gym, when my dad took me that first day, I went with two other guys that were gangsters and me, and it was us three, and my dad took us, and I sparred a buddy of mine who was a gangster at that time, and he was considered like a tough dude. And I was like, all right, let's go, let's get on. And boom, 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 beat the crap out of him, made his nose bleed. I felt so good, and I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna like this sport. And that's when I stuck with it. And even after that, I would just like to fight. Maybe I was like I had that little man syndrome or something. I don't know.
What were some of the coolest things you remember about being in the Olympic Auditorium?
No, I remember just watching because we were up in the stand, and I thought I was like so high up, and to watch the ring down and below, I just felt surreal, like wow, and I could still remember that. Or just going to Main Street Gym and watching Indian Red Lopez, Carlos Palomino, Roberto Duran, when he come in town. I just remember those moments going with my dad, seeing him excited, and sometimes I'd be like watching just like at the people, and my dad would hit me in the head and say, "Hey, watch the fights. Pay attention. I brought you to watch the fights, not the people." And it was just I just cherish those moments now because at that time I didn't appreciate it, but I want to do the same with my kid. Do something father son type thing.
Did you ever imagine at that time that one day you were going to be in there yourself doing the same thing?
No, definitely not. My dad didn't even want me to do it. He just wanted me to practice it, but not to do it, or because it was hard on him. It was hard to see him to see me get hit, or it was hard for him because he would get upset. And until one day I was fighting, I think it was the Golden Gloves. He got in the ring and he told me, "Hey Carlos, do this, do that." I was like, "Dad, get out of here." From that moment on, he just like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay quiet. And since then, he's been respectful towards me, towards my boxing.
And let's go back a little bit and talk about your amateur boxing career. How did that go for you, and how did you start that?
I had really good trainers back then. I had Jimmy Montoya, I had Chato Robles, I had Mando Huerta. I had a lot of because I was like I would jump around from trainer to trainer because I wanted to learn from a different everybody. I didn't want just and maybe that was it was not good on one side, but I thought it was good too because sometimes they had a lot of other fighters and I was just the amateur kid. So what I was doing, I was just learning from different trainers, and especially Jim Montoya around that time, he was like considered one of the best trainers in LA. He had Camacho, he had Pedrosa, and he had a lot of really good fighters, and so I was learning from him. And Chato, Chato Robles, who died, he at the end, he made Israel Vasquez, he made this guy Martin Castillo, and And so he had pretty good fighters and all, but he was a really good trainer. But he had an alcohol problem, and so that's why we left him from a long time when I was a kid. And so we were just jumping around, and when I met Jackie McCoy, that was my main trainer. That's who kept me undefeated for in the pros now. But now in the amateur, I had even Bill Slayton. Bill Slayton was my trainer, another one of the best trainers I've ever had, and Dub Huntley.
What was your amateur career as far as record at the end after you're done with that?
I was 19-5.
What do you think of amateur boxing, and how important is amateur boxing, you think, to a professional fighter?
Well, it's very important. I believe. I wish I could have had more fights, more experience, because. But in the other hand, I don't feel like I was burned out or beat up like some of these other fighters that I remember. Like Pep Riley, he was Olympic standout and went to the '92 games, and he was a really good amateur. But I felt he got burned out. So when he turned pro, he didn't reach it. He didn't do anything in the pros. I think he just burned himself out for doing it so many years, so many fights. Although not everybody. Look at De La Hoya. I mean, he's had who knows how many fights, hundreds of fights, and look at him. He still looks pretty.
From when you were in the amateurs and you were boxing in all the different boxing gyms that you might have been in, did a lot of those people at that time, when you were still an amateur, transfer over to the professionals and become big stars?
Let me see. That's a good question. I don't think so. I remember the only person. Well, yeah, no, I don't remember. No, not. I mean, some guys that would fight for like national titles, I guess, or regional titles, but not like world titles or anything.
So you go on and you become a pro. At what point in your amateur career did you say, you know what, I'm going to leave here and I'm going to become pro? At what point did you know in yourself that you were going to become pro?
In 1989, I had my last amateur fight, I think it was. In 1990 passed, I went to school. In 1991, I went to school, and then I watched the Olympics as well, and I was like, dude, I used to train with Pepe, and I know I could still do it. I feel good. I was on the track team for Cerritos College, and I was like, you know what, I'm in really good shape. So I started training over at Slayton's gym at 108th and Broadway, and I was like, well, I feel good. So I started training for about a month, and then I turned pro, and then I get a draw in my first fight.
How old were you back then?
I was 21 years old.
And your parents seem to be so protective of you, from what you say, as far as your dad. What was their reaction to you having your first fight or that particular day?
Well, they when I got a draw, my dad was kind of like rubbing it in my face. He's like, "See, I told you, stay in school and all this stuff. Stay in school." And I was like, "Well, that's why I couldn't really train hard, because I was always going to school. So, and school, it was all just the same old thing, the general ed." And I was like, "No, forget that, man. I got it." So after that, I after the fight, I went back to school and I just said, "All right, goodbye to everybody. I'm saying goodbye because I'm not coming back." And then my next fight, I won, and then I was undefeated for the next 20 fights, 21 fights.
At what age did you get married?
At 26. We got married at 26, but you could say I got married at 23 years old.
Did being a boxer complicate your marriage life, or did it make your marriage life stronger?
I think it made it stronger, man, because she was there to help me, and she's a psychologist. Well, she was a young psychologist. She just graduated from university, and she helped me a lot. And so we both were very much in love, and we still are, thank God. And she was a big part of my success.
I did see that documentary, More Than Famous. What did you think of that documentary, and was it exactly how you wanted it to be?
What you got on tape was everything real from my wife and I, and so I mean, yeah, I'm very happy with it. It shows how much I think it shows how much we love each other and how much we'll fight for each other. And this was 10 years ago, and we're still, or more than anything, we're stronger than ever. And I can't do anything without her.
How did that go about? How did you propose?
The last day I was in Mexico on my first trip when I met her, I already knew I wanted to marry her. So every time we were together, I was like, we're gonna get married, and she was like, I know we're gonna get married, and she was just as much as in love. We're just waiting for the right moment, for the right time, for us to have enough money to invite family. And we thank God we did. We had a great wedding in El Salvador, overlooking the lake, a huge, beautiful lake, and the mountains of Honduras. And it was just a romantic place where we got married. In fact, the church that we got married was built in the 16th century, no, 17th century. It was just a beautiful wedding. It was actually televised in El Salvador. My wife, when I proposed in front of her family, because I wanted to ask her parents first, just to be proper, and then I asked her. They love what I love is the fact that they respect and they believe in their daughter and her actions and her decision. And if she chose me as a husband, they believed that she was making the right decision, and so they were pretty happy.
So you become pro. What do you remember of your first professional fight? Going through the drapes the first day.
Well, one of the things that stand out is like I had an ex-girlfriend go to the fight, and she comes out. And she's like, Carlos, get out. Let's go. Let's go home. Leave here. You can still leave. Please, don't fight. Can you believe that? You know what kind of... I was like, oh, shit, shut up. I got so nervous when she said that. Then I got in the ring. And she's like, Carlos, get out. Get out. She's yelling this. Dude, she embarrassed me. She made me feel bad. I'm like, oh, my God. So then the first 2 rounds, I wanted to get him out of there. And then I got tired. So I won the first 2 rounds, and he won the last 2 rounds. And so it was a draw. I think that's what I remember the most. Is the nerves that chick put in me.
And so you move on the ranks and you get your career going. Then you fight a Chicanito, Genaro Hernandez, who just died recently. What do you remember about that fight or getting up to that rank? Or was he the first big guy that you fought?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I fought Goyo Vargas before. I fought a world champion, and I felt good. I felt ready. But, I don't know if you knew this, but one of Genaro's last messages, he wrote me he texted me 2 weeks before he died, because he was one of my best pals in boxing. He's more than anything, he was my mentor, and that was part of his team. And that was one of the reasons, according to him, why he was very successful, because I helped him. We would kick each other's asses in the gym, in the ring, every freaking day. It was one of the reasons why I became who I am today, because of that work ethic that he instilled in me. I could still see him right in front of me right now, and I'm just very, very proud. Man, Genaro was a class act, man. That's my brother. That's my mentor, and I will always be grateful for him. I became champion because of him too.
What was it like to know that you were going to be fighting him professionally?
How did you more than anything, it was. He did it as a favor because I had some managers, and it wasn't my time. I didn't really want to fight him, and I don't think he wanted to fight me either. But it was more of a business deal from my manager saying, "Hey, see, we got your title fight. We got your title fight. Fight." It was for the wrong money, but he gave it to me because I was ranked, but he didn't have to fight me or give me the opportunity. That was one fight I wish I never had. Was that one?
Wasn't it crazy to fight this guy that you admired and looked up to so much?
Yeah, no, we would share everything, man. I mean, we were, he would, man.
And then on top of that, you fought him in the venue that your dad used to take you to watch fights.
Yeah. It was upsetting. I really, it's a sour taste, but it is what it is, and so I just take it in stride and move on. But very blessed, I got to at least share the ring with him professionally, not just in the background where nobody sees. At least people saw that we traded blows, but we loved each other like brothers.
You went on after that fight and had several wins after that. Then pretty much this is probably where that documentary kicked in, leading up to your match with Mayweather.
Yes.
What do you remember about getting the call that you were going to be fighting him and be fighting for the world title? What was that like?
Oh, it was great. I was like, I'll fight anybody. I had that mentality. I had that winning streak going. I was like, okay, I'll fight anybody. I really don't care. I felt like a monster, and so I trained hard for that fight. I think I don't know if you see that fight, man. Not too many people did what I did. In fact, I bloodied his nose, I busted his mouth. He had a nick on his cheek, and not too many people could say that. And if you see at the press conference, I mean, he treated me nothing but respect. He cried in the press conference, and he also said his fights, his wins, well, not all of them are going to look pretty, which was true. This wasn't a pretty win for him. We fought in his hometown where he had his own ref. He was using his elbows a lot, where I got elbowed in the forehead, and I started bruising up, swelling up. Each pot shot he would take, it started swelling up more and more. But I was still there and on him, and his crowd would boo me in the beginning. But at the end, those 15,000 people, they cheered me and they booed him. His own people, dude. That's on tape. I will always cherish that.
He won that decision, but you got your respect at the same time.
Yes, I did. I guess, the odds were 30 to 40 to 1 that he was going to knock me out. And I guess you could say I beat the odds. I gave him his only an official knockdown, which wasn't a knockdown, but he took the knee because I hit him with the hook, and then he didn't want to get hit anymore, so he took the knee.
And as time went, you even took on guys like Eric Morales. What do you remember about getting that fight?
Ah, man, if any fight, if you were to offer me, it would be that fight. I wish I could fight Morales again. I think that's the one fight that I have in the back of my head that I wish I could have. He would have stayed there and fought with me because he did outbox me. He was a really good jabber. He was a guy that would think and not like. I was more of just a balls out type guy, not really thinking of strategy. There was no strategy when I fought him. There was just go after him, and that's what I did. But he used his brain to just beat me tactically. It wasn't that he was just a stronger fighter or a hungrier fighter. He's just technically sound and beat me on with his jab. He was really really good counterpuncher. Really good. He's a master at that.
One of the judges was like, I know two of them were like really like for him, but then one of them only separated you guys by a round. How do you think that happened?
Well, I don't know, man. You know boxing. Come on, it's a business.
I wanted to hear you say it, man. I mean,
more than anything, it's a business, and you know that judges see more of a guy that. That's I don't know. That's how they see it. So I don't want to point fingers or say or blame. That's how the judges saw it, and I respect them. I mean, that's their job, and maybe they could do a better job. But there's other fights like when I fought Pacquiao. One judge had me winning, and the other two judges had me losing. Which clearly, even the judge that had me winning came to me, and he said, "Dude, I don't know what those other judges saw, but they sure robbed you. I was the one that gave you the win." I clearly beat Pacquiao, Bobby Pacquiao. Boxing is, so I mean, I just, even with all the obstacles that I've had, I thank God I became champion.
What did you think of the Jesus Chavez fight?
You know what? I thought that was a good fight. I thought definitely it was a fight that could have gone either way. He got it, which was fine. They didn't count the knockdown at the end because he did when I punched him. I play it over and over again because I knew it happened. I hit him, and his glove touched the canvas, and the dumb ass ref, excuse my language, didn't give him.
It's called the boxing bar, man. So I mean, trust me, bar language is cool.
Okay. I was just very very upset. I don't know if he didn't want to look bad because we lived in the same city or something like that. I don't know, but he should have counted that.
And actually, he had his own documentary too, kind of like yours, where he couldn't get a passport to fight over here or something like that, right?
Oh,
did you even know about that?
Yeah, I did. Chavez. In fact, I did see it. It's called Split Decision, I think. Yeah, I saw it, and it was okay. It was just about his problems, about his legal status.
What is it like to know that you're one of the biggest athletes, if not the biggest athlete out of El Salvador? How does that feel?
Oh man, it feels great every time I go. Well, since I haven't fought for a while, it seems like people seem to forget. Like when I go to the airport, it's like all quiet. Nobody comes up to me anymore. It's cool, whatever. I try to be all humble about it and all. But then people are looking and they're like, is it or it's not? Or is it? And then I get a guy and it's like, hey, ¿sabes qué? Te ves como el famoso Hernandez. I was like, yeah, I am. I'm famoso Hernandez. He's like, no, you're not. He's big and buff. You're small.
Okay, Hulk
I was like,
Hogan.
all right, cool. It's funny. She's like, no, that guy's big. So sometimes they don't even believe it's me.
I know over here, like if you kind of like, I know you remember De La Hoya when he fought Chavez. De La Hoya, of course, when he fought Chavez, let's say he was just considered a Mexican American. He wasn't a full Mexican, and of course Chavez is considered a full Mexican. Is that how it's like over in El Salvador? Like they see you like just the crossed over person because you're originally from here?
Well, I think the majority, I would say like 95% of the people view me as I'm Salvadoran. My blood is Salvadoran. Even though I was born in LA, I mean, the majority of the time, I would say most of the time, I always tell people I'm from El Salvador, but because I did live there, but I wasn't born there. But my blood, my parents both are from El Salvador, and so it was just I happened to be born in the U.S. But that doesn't take away that I'm Salvadorian. And what bothers me a little bit is that I grew up in LA, but I grew up amongst Chicanos. So my Spanish is not like Salvadorian Spanish. That I didn't grow up in the Salvadorian neighborhood, so it's tough, because I talk more like a Chicano than I do like a Salvadorian. Although I do speak like Salvadorian, but they still notice. So when I talk over in El Salvador, or if I do a commercial over there, the people they always make fun of me. Like when there's commercial, people would come up and they would always say, "Por mi patria." With their gringo accent, so it's funny. I take it as a joke. I take it easy. It's funny. I take it as a joke.
And do you still keep in contact with a lot of these boxers that were around in your time or big in your time, like Paulie Ayala or Johnny Tapia?
Well, Johnny Tapia, I used to, well, when I see him, it's like, hey, what's up? We'll hang out, but I haven't seen him. And in fact, I thought he was living over here. I heard he was living over here in San Antonio, but I guess he had some problems with drugs over here too, so he left. That's a damn shame with that guy.
And are you still friends with any of those guys from back then, or do you still talk to a lot of fellow boxers?
Yeah. I talked to David Santos. In fact, I spoke with C. Forbes not long ago. I'll stay in touch with just a lot of like Arce, Panchito Arce. Just a lot of fighters. Yeah, I'll do stay in touch with.
How often do you come to LA, man? One day I think I'm gonna go have a few sakis with you, man.
Oh man, that'd be cool, man. That'd be really cool. Well, I was just there like about a month ago, but I don't know when the next trip is. I would love to go again, but my wife's like, man, you can't go without me.
Or you left her there in Texas?
Yeah, I left her here, but I was with I left with 5 other guys, so we had a really good time going to just clubs and bars, and it was fun. I mean, something I've never.
So as your boxing career continued, of course, with fights like Bobby Pacquiao and Kevin Kelly, and even Vicente Escobedo, did you know you were towards the end of your career, or did you still say, you know what, I still have it?
Yeah, I was towards the end of the road, but the reason being is I was always injured. I was being injured. I know that if I would have fought Escobedo around the time I fought Chicanito, I would have beat Escobedo.
That was a war. I remember that. That was a war. You guys were going, and to think he was a young guy. You were like you said, you were like it was towards your end.
Yes.
It would have been, like you said, I think you would have took him on if he would have been around during your heyday.
Well, exactly. So, and the reason being, I wasn't able to train as hard. I only sparred 6 times for Escobedo, and not sparring in years. It was pretty shocking, I guess, to my body to receive a shot like that, because back then I could receive shots and keep going, but that was the first time I get dropped twice in the fight. It was like shocking for me, but I was still going.
And if it wasn't for those knockdowns that you said, just taking away the knockdowns, you would have won some of the scorecards.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty close fight. I mean, because he went down on one round, but it was mainly it was a split. Yeah, no, I knocked him down once, but it was like a split. But he still counted it as a knockdown. But it was close. It was a close fight.
So now you finished off your career, did you know that was going to be your last fight going in there?
No, I felt that I knew that it could have been my last fight, and if I lost, then it was going to be my last fight.
And now that it's all said and done, and you look back at your career, is there things that you regret that maybe like a boxer you wish you didn't fight, or a boxer that you wish you did fight and didn't? Is there little regrets like that you have looking back at it?
A little bit like with Chicanito, when I wish I didn't fight, and other fights that maybe I could have had that I didn't get in my day, but it just didn't happen, I guess. But the guy who I didn't want to fight was Chicanito.
There's a lot of boxers that end up bad in health. There's a lot of boxers that are perfectly fine. Now that you've finished this career, do you ever feel any pains or aches or anything like that from your boxing days?
I do a little bit, and that's my elbow. Those are one of the things that I believe I have tendonitis, and so that's why one of the things, like when I fought Escobedo, I remember in the second round my elbows were hurting me, so I could barely keep my hands up.
How would you assess your boxing career? Looking back at it, putting everything together, what do you think of your career, and how would you define it?
Considering, like I said, me having not many skills, but a lot of heart, dedication, tenacity, not having the proper guidance, and being what I am, Salvadoran, which when I was up and coming, it wasn't like a big sport for El Salvador. It was always soccer, but when I came out, we started to pick up and starting to open some eyes, some Salvadorian eyes. But it wasn't like how the Filipinos are or the Mexican people are, where they go and it's something that they do. It's a passion of theirs. Boxing was never a passion. It was always soccer, and I believe I opened that. But it was hard because not too many people knew who wants to promote a guy who doesn't bring in people or many people. So it was. I felt that I had many obstacles, but I thank God I reached the goal of becoming world champion.
How do you want your fans to think about you, or boxing fans in general, and how would you just love to be remembered?
Well, as a gutsy guy, my saying, my call sign is perseverance pays off, and I think that says that's my career, perseverance.
Your motto.
Yeah, my motto. That's it, and that's I believe in that, and I believe if you keep trying and you keep trying, it'll happen, and that's what happened. And now since I've been retired now, I opened my gym here in San Antonio. Now my dream is to make world champion and to promote a world champion. I would love to do that.
Let's say your dad, who didn't want you to fight, or anybody else in your family, what do you think they think of your career?
Oh yeah, they're very proud of me. I think my dad can be enough prouder than he is now. I mean, he walks around with his chest out high and like one of those cocks, and at a cockfight, and just like, yeah, that's my son. Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah. He's very proud of me and very, very.
Was he from El Salvador? I'm sure he's proud that you're a Salvadorian champion.
Yes. He's from El Salvador. My dad is, and my parents are, and so he's just very happy and very, very happy to say that that's my son. And I have an arena named after me in El Salvador, where it's.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's very proud to say, my boy has an arena named after him. That's my boy.
Again, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for doing this. And
you,
I hope to maybe have you again one day, or maybe even have a drink with you when you get back to town over here to LA.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see you. And
remember the name Eric Morales, man. He's out there and he's still going strong. So I don't know, man. I think Famoso has his time still, man. You never know. That's all I can say, man. You never know. Thank you very much for doing this, man. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, brother.